Welcome to the Vol Bros, presented by the Ooltewah Club. My name is Evan. This is my brother Ruston, and we are two Vol Bros who are actually bros in real life. And we are very proud to represent the University of Tennessee on the Bleav Entertainment Network. And we're very excited to have some special guests with us this evening. Real quick, I'm going to go through a few comments that have already come through. Stingray, glad to see you're here, buddy. He said, good evening, Vol Bros in chat. Our uncle, welcome, Uncle Davey, said it's tough to see Tony V pack his bags and move on, but along with the mega bucks, I guess it's hard to pass up the opportunity to make sports history. That is very true. We're going to talk about Tony at the end of the show. Audrey, welcome. There's a channel member, watch party fan member. Let's see, Mississippi Vol, welcome, buddy. Good to have you as well. Audrey said, y'all, I've taken to my bed over TV. Oh man, that's great. She said yesterday had me like, y'all gonna make me lose my mind up in here. That's fantastic. John, welcome, buddy. Here's a channel member. He said, will they retire Tony V's number? Definitely not. Definitely not. Jonathan, welcome, bud. Good to have you. He said, hello, Evan, Ruston, chat family. Hope everyone has a good week so far. Don't forget to tell your mom and them about the Vol Bros. I think that's excellent advice. 100%. Let's see here. Mississippi Vol also dishing out some excellent advice. And he said, hit the like and subscribe button. I think that's very good advice. Our uncle said, nice to know that Mike Keith will have Hoops courtside radio help from John Wilkerson and Chris Lofton. Absolutely. And Steve Hamer.
And I was going to say, and Steve Hamer. I was shocked that it was all three of them. That crew has expanded in a lot of ways, both in quality and in number.
Yeah, that's pretty stout. That's pretty stout. Elijah, welcome, buddy. Good to have you. There's a Watch Party fan member. Speaking of Watch Party fan members, so the ones that are already watching, remember this Saturday night will be our football season watch party. We're going to give away a hoodie during the show. So for those who are Watch Party fan members, be on the lookout for that. Let's see here. Stingray agrees about the basketball.
Sorry, I had my phone out when we started. I was just placing a quick bet that Terry Rozier wouldn't play in the NBA tonight.
Oh, goodness gracious. Let's see. John said, I hated to see Tony V go, but you can't blame him for taking the job. Absolutely. Since there might be a goat hat sale on the Vol Bros shop. We were actually just talking about what are we going to do. Our merch store took a massive hit tonight. And that's why I'm wearing our GBO hat, because this is still available on the website. And Richardson just got it back in stock. So that's fantastic.
And that can't leave.
That's it. That's exactly right. This is evergreen. GBO puff embroidery looks really good. Let's see here. Backflip Getty said, howdy y'all. Good to see everybody. Did you hear about Ken Williamson being suspended? Yes, I did. Suspended indefinitely, actually. SEC referee got suspended.
I wonder if he's connected to Chauncey Billups, Terry Rozier, and the Mafia too.
Who knows?
Awful coincidental.
Clay said, go Big Orange, beat Kentucky interview tomorrow morning. Pray for me. Wish me good luck. Hey, man, hope you have a fantastic interview. Hope it goes extremely well. Rooting for you, Clay. We'll pray that everything works out just the way it's supposed to, man. Hope you get that spot. That's great, man. All right. Well, we're glad everybody is joining us across all three platforms, and we are super excited to have some special guests with us tonight. Tonight, as you know, we are part of the Bleav Entertainment Network, and we've been so fortunate to be able to network with some other podcasts and shows on the Bleav Entertainment Network. Last night, I got to be on the Bleav in Kentucky show, and as you can tell, Ruston is on the road again, and so he's joining us from the West Coast tonight. We are super excited to have Cole and Vinny join us tonight from Bleav in Kentucky. Cole, welcome, buddy. Glad you're with us. I think you might be muted there.
Sorry about that. Happy to be here.
Cole, we know Vinny's on his way. He texted me, said he might be a few minutes late getting back from church. So while we're waiting on him, why don't you tell us how can people follow your work and all the things? I know you got a magazine that was just released, so why don't you let everybody know about that?
Yeah, of course. So I'm Cole Park with the Cat's Paws. It's Kentucky's 247 affiliate. You can find all of my work on the Cat's Paws, the House of Blue message board, and my Twitter handle, which is in my name there at Cole Park, PARKE_WSC. I post stories in there regularly, monitor a message board pretty regularly. And we also do bi-weekly print editions, which come in more of like a newspaper kind of look. And then every year we do a special edition for football and basketball. Our basketball yearbook just released. It's a pretty hefty thing here. It's got information on every single coach Kentucky has, every single player, interesting stories, recruiting, women's basketball, high school basketball around the state, anything you can possibly want. Every state, college down to the NAIA level. It's got it all in that little yearbook. So it's your one-stop shop for anything Kentucky basketball, and very happy to have that out.
Very cool. Very cool. People welcoming you in the comments here. John said, welcome, Cole.
Thank you.
Elijah said, howdy, Cole. Audrey said, so what you're saying is we have to be on our best behavior because we have company. Beckville Spaghetti said, howdy, Cole.
Howdy.
Audrey said hi, and Ricky asked, do I get my money back on my 22 sweatshirt? Unfortunately, I can't do that.
Technically, it's a slightly incorrect shade of orange, but I bet he'll still wear 22 with the Giants. So it's technically probably still okay.
Yeah, as Michael Scott said, TBD or TDB. There it is. That's Michael Scott. Well, Cole, I'll tell you what, man. Let's start with our first question that we had for you. A couple other people welcoming you here. We're glad you're with us, man. Our first question, Tony. This is Kentucky Football Week, so I see your comment there, buddy. We are going to talk about Tony Vitello at the end of the show. That's what we're going to do. Mina Likey, welcome. There's channel member. She said, hey, Cole, I caught the previous show y'all did with Evan, so she watched it. Appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. Cole, we'll go ahead and ask you your opinion on this first here. I mean, listen, you're on a show here with a bunch of Tennessee fans watching. Clearly, you know Kentucky football better than we do. Okay, so our question to you is, what do you know about Kentucky football that Tennessee fans don't know, but you think they should know?
That's a good question. I guess I would say, depending on how closely you followed Kentucky and how many of those games you've actually watched, how frustrating they are this year, because Kentucky can't quite be described as necessarily a straight up bad football team in the way some might say. You know, they've lost plenty of games, but it's not like they've just been outplayed in all of those games. They've consistently over and over again shot themselves in the foot every chance they've gotten. You know, I had someone ask me about the defense, for example, and how they played against South Carolina, giving up 31 or 35 points. That's not quite the full story. There was a pick six, a fumble, scoop, and score, and another interception that set up South Carolina for an easy touchdown. That was all offensive errors, really. In that one, it was a 21-0 second quarter. I talked about on the show we did yesterday, we talked about the Texas game losing in overtime. You start and end that game with 2 runs up the middle on 4th down for turnovers on downs, including in overtime, instead of just taking the field goal and trusting your defense to hold Texas to a field goal, which it did do. It didn't matter in the end. And also, you know, special teams allowing for a 13-point swing in a game that ended separated by 3 points. Anything you can point to, there's probably some game this year where Kentucky's found some way to just fail. And the most interesting thing is fail in different ways each time. You know, it's never really a consistent problem throughout the whole season. It's a new problem that just crops up week to week. And it's kind of like duct taping a plane and hoping it flies at times, quite frankly. As soon as one piece kind of hangs tight, another one's loose, and you're going down all over again. So that would be the thing I would say. Tennessee fans may not know as much, is just how infuriating it is to watch this team, even if you are not a fan of this team. They're just a frustrating football team to watch play this year.
Well, there you go.
with that, they do have pieces to be successful. I mean, we saw them play close with Texas, perhaps the best defensive game of the season. We saw the passing attacks looked a lot better. Yes, literally every week. It's what's it going to be this week? But they've done some good things too mixed in there. The offense is continuing to improve. The defense just had its best game of the season. The special teams, apart from the Texas game, just has been pretty solid all year long, including, I Bleav, Jacob Coway, the kicker, made a 50-yarder at one point this season, and then missed one from 26 out. So who knows what you're going to get at times. It truly depends. Any kind of prediction you're going to make on how this Kentucky team is going to play against Tennessee is purely going to depend on what version of Kentucky chooses to come out and which issue just happens to crop up this week.
Man, I've been there before. I know that feeling. Vinny, welcome, buddy. Vinny's now with us too. Love having you with us, man. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good to be here. Long time no talk, Evan. Nice to meet you, Ruston.
Sorry I couldn't be with y'all last night. I was on a plane in the air when you all went live. I got time zones wrong, and I was in a plane for 5 hours last night, so I would have much rather been doing this.
Yeah, for sure. I bet.
And Brennan, a channel member, welcome. He said that was very candid, Cole. He appreciated your comments there. Rhonda said, Cole, as a diehard Tennessee fan, believe me, we understand. Yep, we sure do.
I'm curious.
People welcoming you to the show here.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
I'm curious. You all saw the injury report come out.
Whoa. Hang on. Whoa. Backflip Spaghetti just gave a $50 super chat. Holy moly.
Must be
that is the biggest
Kentucky
super chat.
Fan.
That might be the biggest super chat we've ever received ever. That's amazing.
Probably so.
He said, door fee appreciation Thursdays. I really don't know how I feel about this Kentucky game, and it stinks being in that position as a fan. Hoping for the best, preparing for everything else. Go Big Orange. He said, it's not much, but y'all deserve it. Man, that's a lot, okay? You are awesome. Thank you so much. That is fantastic. Thank you.
I'm curious. The injury report came out. There are a lot of Kentucky guys on the top 3 categories that you don't want them to be on. When you all saw that injury report, how did that kind of change your expectations for this Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, I think if anything, it really caught me a little bit off guard because there are several of those guys that are on that injury report that haven't been on it at all this season. And quite frankly, I've been to the practice fields twice this week. I've talked to coaches. There was nothing that anyone indicated that some of these injuries were even something they were dealing with until the report comes out. And you're like, wait a second, what? I swear I thought I saw that guy practicing, but here we are. So you look at that injury report, I pulled that up as well. It is a lot of names. If you're not as familiar with Kentucky, a lot of them aren't super noteworthy, especially in the out category. There's 3 of those guys, David Washington, Nick Smith, Devin Smith, those guys or Jacob Smith as well, Elijah Brown. Those guys are all guys that have been out multiple weeks in a row now. Most of those guys haven't really played a ton for Kentucky. Obviously, Jamarian Wilcox remains suspended. I gave that's a completely different situation. I personally don't expect him to play for Kentucky again at this point with everything going on in that deal. The one that was surprising was Troy Stellato, the wide receiver. I Bleav he logged his first reception of the season last week against Texas. One of the 12 receivers that Cutter Bully was able to find in that game. He goes out suddenly.
Cole, I'm so sorry. Shocking. I'm so sorry.
Who wants to go 52?
Yeah. Y'all need to come on our show every week. I'm just saying, this.
I got to find out what this super chat even is and take it to our show and see, get that going on.
Or Tony Vitello needs to quit every week. One of the two.
Yeah. Audrey, thank you so much. She said paying for a therapy session. We'll get to that. We're getting to that here in a little while. She said the price is close to right.
I unfortunately know way too much about that scenario and a lot of things I wish I didn't know now. I've gotten permission to tell some of it. I can't tell everything, but later we'll discuss Tony.
I apologize for interrupting you, Cole, but that was awesome. Sorry.
Yeah, you're completely fine. I totally understand. As for the doubtful, you see DJ Waller at DB. Not shocking after last week, but that is a frustrating one. Obviously, the starting corner for Kentucky goes out after the Toledo game, week 1. He injures his hamstring in practice, and it's just been a long road to recovery through both bye weeks now. And he's finally cleared to play against Texas and re-injures his hamstring in warm-ups. Obviously, did not play that one, and I wasn't shocked to see him on doubtful. Some interesting comments from Mark Stoops on Monday about checking to see, they did another MRI. They saw a spot. They don't know if that's something new, if it's scar tissue, but then clarifies with scar tissue, he didn't have surgery. So a little bit of a lot of question marks floating there. And then in your questionable, I'm surprised Seth McGowan is only questionable. I mean, a guy that leaves the Texas game to go to the hospital and then has to come back and then plays again after getting back from the hospital. It's kind of ridiculous to me. And then Fred Ferrier, that's a wide receiver who hasn't really been on the report lately, but has also kind of been one of 9 wide receivers that are on the 2 depth chart. So not too crazy for me there. Abaselm kind of lives on the questionable list there every week, usually good to go every week. And then in terms of the probable, some of those, I mean, it's probable, so not too concerning, but it is a little bit worrying to me that, knowing there's a little bit of concerns with Josh Caddis, Willie Rodriguez, both of those guys have been phenomenal tight ends for Kentucky. And, Kentucky has, still 1 wide receiver touchdown. All the other passing touchdowns have come to the tight ends, a couple to Caddis. I think Rodriguez has just 1, maybe 2. So those guys have been really good. And then Khalil Saunders, part of a really, really good Kentucky defensive line. That also includes Marquise Humphrey-Grace, David Gusta. Those guys have been holding it down up front in a defensive line that, lost Deion Walker to the Buffalo Bills, lost Octavius Oxendine to the Canadian Pro Football League, and a couple other guys on that unit. So, good that that unit's been doing so well, but concerning to see those 3 guys, even if they are probable, be listed on the injury report at all.
All right. Well, best case scenario, what do both of you all want to see from Kentucky on Saturday?
Well, first I'll say to the comment there from Jonathan, to Stoops hate injury reports as much as Heupel does. Yes, and I think he also hates the weekly depth chart because it hasn't changed since week 3. So I think all of it is dealt with the utmost contempt as possible.
Heupel puts out a depth chart in week 1, and it has like 30 ors in it.
Yes.
And then it never changes the entire rest of the season.
Yes.
It's the exact same. There can be dudes missing legs, and they'll still be listed on his depth chart.
Every single wide receiver has an or. There's 3 different nickels listed. There's all kinds of things all over the depth chart and ors. And like you said, DJ Weller has played 1 game this season, and he's been the starting corner every single week on that thing. So it does not matter at all.
First, what do we want to see? For me, some semblance of offense. I mean, just putting points on the board. A lot of Kentucky fans, grew up in the air raid. Shoot, I grew up in the air raid. Tim Couch was in Leicester County, the next county over. We were the same age. A lot of fans want to see passing, high octane, up and down the field. I just want to see points. I mean, Ray Davis ran all over Florida a couple years ago. They beat Florida 33-13 or something. He ran for like 300 yards. Points. I don't have to have air raid. I don't have to have, Tim Couch, Hal Mummy. Just an offense that threatens a defense. And this offense has been sputtering for way too long. We got continuity back. Bush Handum is back for his 2nd year, but you haven't scored 3 touchdowns against big boy teams since he's been here. So it's continuity, but productivity would also, be nice to see as well. So I would just like to see points, 28 points, 30 points. It's been a while since that's happened, and just any kind of way, please.
Yeah, I guess in terms of what I'm looking for is just, please, any semblance of consistency whatsoever. We've now seen back-to-back weeks of the offense steadily improving from the abysmal state it was in to start the season. Now it's looking like there actually is an offense that exists within Kentucky that's capable of scoring some points, but it's not there yet. So we need to keep seeing that progression, keep seeing the natural progression that that offense has been making. And then on the defense, it's been a roller coaster all season. I mean, you put up a strong showing against Toledo. You're able to limit several of the explosives of Ole Miss, and then you just, for some reason, look really, really bad against Eastern Michigan. Come back out and you play pretty solid at South Carolina in spite of the final score. You know, like I said, a lot of that was offensive woes. And then Georgia, I don't know that I've ever seen a team score an easier touchdown than Georgia did on its first drive of that game. It looked completely pedestrian. It looked like a practice drill, how easily they scored that touchdown. Just absolutely no resistance whatsoever that entire game from Kentucky's defense. And then against Texas, they looked phenomenal. You know, it was probably their best game of the entire season. So just some consistency. Stop, taking one step forward, two steps back. Don't even take one step forward, one step back. Just keep taking steps forward and play consistently. And then, the special teams unit, which has been so good for a lot of this season. Now back-to-back games with a missed field goal. Obviously, the 13-point swing I talked about in the Texas game. You can't regress week to week. You need to keep getting, moving in the same direction, keep making progress, and find a little bit of consistency. At this point, I would take being consistently bad at something over, being bad at it one week, good at the next, and then bad again right after. At some point, just decide who you are and stick to it.
Backflip Spaghetti gifted somebody a channel membership. Thank you so much for that. We truly appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. He said, I absolutely hate injury reports. Elijah said a player could have his leg blown off and it'll be classified as an upper body injury.
Yeah,
we can't trust anything that comes out of the staff.
Tennessee is infamous for that. We have injuries that somehow move around on people's bodies. It's pretty wild.
Stingray said, I'll be surprised if Jermon McCoy plays at all. I agree. I do not expect him to be wearing orange ever again. Which is sad, but unfortunately, especially if Tennessee loses another game and they're out of the playoff, he's definitely not going to be playing anymore. There's a chance if they make it in the playoffs, we might see him then, but I don't know. Let's see here. Audrey agreed with you, Vinny, when you talked about Tim Couch.
Vinny, are you a Centenary College fan?
Not particularly, I don't guess.
I don't know if you saw Hal Mummy came out and is now their offensive coordinator. He's down there running the air raid in Louisiana.
He's still in the game, man.
He looks like he's 130 years old standing on the sideline. He's over there just screaming at dudes.
And he was somewhere, I think he was in Kingsport, like Sullivan South or something a couple years ago up there, right out in the Tri-Cities. Just a lifer, man.
So Jonathan and Andrew both asked really good questions. I'm going to save those. Rhonda said, Cole, she understands that you want to see him get better, but this has been a rough week for Vol Nation, so please improve next week.
Well, hey, to that point, I think I said the stat on our show yesterday. I got this stat. Shout out to Zach Barnett for it. But SEC teams last season were 2-6 on the back of back-to-back road games. So far this season, SEC teams that are playing back-to-back road games are 0-3 on the season. Going into this week, 5 different SEC schools with back-to-back road games, including the Tennessee Vols. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see if, but right now it seems the odds are not in favor of that, but it seems like the odds are in favor of anyone who's playing Kentucky. So you never know.
Yes,
well, Rustin, what do you want to see as a Tennessee fan? What do you want to see from the Vols on Saturday?
I want to see us do what we should have done last Saturday. I want to. Kentucky's giving up. Let me get the exact number. I think it's 230. Kentucky's giving up 230 yards a game on the ground. I want to see us come out, establish the run, pound the ball, and not give up on it, and use play action to create big plays. But let's run the ball the way we should have last week. And make sure that those 3 running backs get a healthy amount of carries. I think if we do that, it'll be a very successful day. We never, ever, ever play well at night in Lexington. It doesn't matter who the teams are. It doesn't matter who's coaching. We we have not been great at night in Lexington. So, you know, I want to see us go out, establish the run, use that to create explosives off play action, and get out there with a solid win and minimal injury.
Y'all play well enough. That's 40, 45-42. You go back way back, the 52-50 overtime game when Lonas Sieber from Knoxville is perfect coming out to beat the Vols, and of course he gets blocked. The 30-24 Lane Kiffin's year. Y'all played just well enough to get out of Fayette County with W's, man. So
yeah.
Jonathan said, as a Vols fan, I just want to see us pound the ball and actually tackle people on defense. I'm for that. I would much prefer seeing us wrapping people up on defense than just giving them a shoulder pat. What I'd like to see from the Vols. So as of yet, Tennessee this season has not held an SEC opponent to under 30 points. I would very much like to see that change.
Against a non-Eastern Michigan opponent, Kentucky hasn't scored 30 points. So, we're talking about Eastern Michigan, which lost at home to a low-tier FCS school. So it's truly a movable force meets whatever it is, the opposite of immovable object, unstoppable force.
Something got to give.
I got to be honest. I got a little excited when you said that only one wide receiver had scored a touchdown this year, because our safeties can cover tight ends. They can't cover a wide receiver to save their lives, but they can cover tight ends.
It's Kendrick Law, Alabama guy.
Yeah. So, if we only have to cover one receiver, that's a good day for us. We have one guy who can cover a receiver. We don't have anybody else, but we got one.
Jonathan said, Vinny sounds like he has the Kentucky version of Batter Ball syndrome.
Hey, man, if my math is right, I think Ruston, we're about the same age. So, seen some lean years, man.
I think you started. Do you want to go back to that question about Stoops?
Yeah. So Mississippi Vol said he wants to see a clean game, stop with the offsides penalties. They're drive killers. Amen, brother. Amen. Let's see here. So I starred several questions that we found a lot of really good questions for you guys. Jonathan asked, I'm curious how y'all feel about Mark Stoops as an outsider. I don't really understand how he's still coaching. Do you all think he'll be fired after this season or not? I mean, that's an honest question. That's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, should he be fired after this season? Arguably should have been fired after last season, depending on who you ask. It's kind of been in a downward spiral for a little while now. I feel with each passing week, my understanding from what I'm gathering, talking to people, is Kentucky is getting more and more willing to consider paying that amount. I Bleav $38 million for his buyout right now. But at the same time, there's also perhaps a chance that they could work something out, negotiate a deal, which previously, Stoops really had no incentive to do. And so if you can separate yourself on the Kentucky side from supporting Kentucky, you can also look at the guy and say, yeah, why would he negotiate? He's got all the power in that situation. But he took the Texas loss pretty hard. Very competitive guy. They're hearing some things that maybe there could be some considered negotiations. I would not expect Mark Stoops to be the coach next year at this point in time, although with my knowledge and experience with Kentucky, who knows? He might as very well be. But you're in a tough spot, not only with the recruits, but also in terms of if you want to make any changes with the coaching staff. Who's going to agree to come to a Kentucky team right now where it kind of feels like the coach is on his last limb anyway? So has gotten to the point where I feel like we've passed the point of no return. There's not really going to be a fixing this problem. This year was the year, if there was one, to try to fix this. And, you've already taken too many losses, and quite frankly, anything's possible. I just said this Kentucky team's shown flashes, but if you want my prediction, most people's prediction right now is somewhere around the range of 3-9 to 4-8. So just not a lot of confidence, not a lot of belief. And for the winningest coach in program history, the one who once brought you 2 10-win seasons, even though once has since been thrown into the sun by the NCAA due to some scandal there. But for a guy who was once on top of the world at Kentucky, even at times rivaling maybe basketball, the coaches firing shots back and forth of those two programs, it's fallen so far, and there's just no benefit of the doubt. There's no confidence, and there's no trust that this can get turned around.
Yes. In Kentucky in their history has had 4 10-win seasons. Stoops manufactured 2 of them. One in 51, one in 77. That's when I was born. And Stoops has these 2. So to get them to those highs, to beat Penn State in a bowl game, to beat Iowa in a bowl game, best it's ever been in my life as a battered Kentucky football fan, as the commenter said. So a lot of times, people are victim of their own success. We saw Cal 4 Final Fours in 5 years, and then you hit the peak, and then you go start downward. Can you get it back? Nope. You try to get it back, and then it just kind of – you guys have been through it with all these coaches between Fulmer and Heupel. Y'all been through the same thing. So now Stoops had the peak, and now we started down, and, there's no breaks. We can't stop the slide. I was on Feinbaum this summer, and I said it's going to be like you go to the doctor, you already know you're kind of sick, and you're probably going to get bad news. And so you're just kind of until you actually get the test results that you already know are going to be bad. And that's kind of where we are. We already knew that, the liver and the appendix and the pancreas weren't good, and now you're getting confirmation. The best I said we could do was probably 5-7 this year. They got to go 3-3 to get that in the second half of the season. And so it's just getting to that point, and it's awkward, but it's got to be some kind of a separation, some kind of way. Or else, because they're running it back, nobody is going to be excited about that. He flirted with Texas A&M. He's not going to be thrilled to be back. If he's honest, if he in his heart of hearts, does he want to come back? And I'm motivated, I'm fired up the fans are kind of tapped out, and it's just at that for everybody kind of point. That's where we are.
Richard joining us all the way from Oregon. That's what I'm talking about. Welcome, buddy. Glad you're with us. That is very cool.
He heard I was in his time zone, so he decided to join.
John, welcome, buddy.
Eric Ainge country.
Yep.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right. Let's see. All right.
I will say to Audrey
that I do wonder.
Just to Audrey, almost making you guys feel bad for Kentucky. Well, basketball season's about to start, so it won't last long, I don't think.
So I'm curious, from your all's perspective, who do you think, or no, Evan, you take question 4. I'll do this one. I just realized I flipped it. From your all's perspective, who do you think will play well on Saturday? Who are you looking for a big game from?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think with each passing week, we've seen more and more from Cutter Boley. He's looked more confident. He's looked more comfortable. He's found ways to get more guys involved. I mean, 12 different wide receivers involved in not all wide receivers, but 12 different receivers in the Texas game, I should say, including tight ends and running backs. You go back to week 2 and tell them that 12 different people caught a pass, and you would think that they replaced the entire Kentucky team with a different team. It just didn't look possible. So that offense has continued to grow around him. He's gotten more comfortable in recognizing where, the blitzes are coming from, where the pass rush is coming from. He had some phenomenal, evasions of sacks in that one game against Texas. One that, I started looking down at my laptop to type because I was like, well, there he goes down. And then I look up and he's spun out of it somehow. goes out and seems to get rattled, shaken up, sits on the bench, and then the very next drive he's right back out there. I mean, he's absolutely killing it, and he's got such a good mentality that you want in a quarterback. Never too high, never too low, they say. So I think he's continued to make strides. He's continued to make better passes, better plays, better reads, and his IQs continue to go up every week. So I think we can have a good game from Cutter Boley. I think that can be a lot of fun to see as he continues to develop. The one thing to maybe look forward to with Kentucky right now, Cutter Boley. So that's what I'm hoping to see in terms of who I think could really have a strong showing and who has been showing us that they could be in line for another big showing.
And along those similar lines, I'm thinking, Cutter's playing good. Somebody's got to catch it. My first thought was Willie Rodriguez. I know Tennessee covers tight ends well, like you said, Ruston, but they're roommates. They're coming up together as underclassmen, kind of got that chemistry going, and I think he could, find some seams and get loose a little bit and be the recipient of Cutter Boley's good game.
Yeah.
Ruston, what about you? Who do you think Tennessee fans are going to be talking about on Sunday?
I think I hope we'll be talking about the entire running back room. I think Josh Heupel will probably take a step back, and especially with the voices that are in that offensive room, I think they'll take a step back and go, yeah, we screwed up Saturday. We should have run the ball a lot more than we did. So I think they're going to make a concerted effort to make sure those guys get touches, because any one of the three of them can have a huge day. They're all future pros, so they need touches. So I think the running back room will probably have a huge day. Would not be surprised at all if Idris Farouk has a big day. He's going to be covering one of those tight ends, and that's more his speed. He can handle a tight end. He's not great against a speed guy, but he's physical, so a bigger body doesn't affect him. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Idris has a big day in coverage and maybe even gets a pick.
So I'm going to do kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy selection on this one. Last night, about 8:00 p.m. Eastern time, listen, I know injury reports, you can't believe anything that's on them from Tennessee, but we saw a name last night that was surprising to, I think, everyone. Arion Carter appeared on the questionable column last night. That's a big deal. If he doesn't play, that's a big deal. I mean, he is the glue that is barely holding Tennessee's defense together. I told Vinny and Cole last night, if he doesn't play, that's good for 7 to 10 points for Kentucky right there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's the one who gets everybody lined up. He's the one that is running the defense on the field. And so
he's our leading tackler.
Deal. Absolutely. Wow. So I make this pick because if Arion doesn't play, all eyes are going to be on Edwin Spillman. All eyes will be on him. Is he going to be able to pick up the slack? Which side note, I think he can. So I think, I'm going to go with Edwin as the guy that everybody's talking about, because I think, unfortunately, if Arion doesn't play, he's the guy that everybody's going to have to be talking about. Whether he played really well and filled in so well for him, or, man, now we really know how important Arion is to the defense. Unfortunately for Edwin, he's going to be the focus of all of Vol Nation as far as when we look at the defense, good or bad. So I think Edwin Spillman's going to be the guy. And I honestly, before the season even started, Edwin was my pick for surprise player of the season. And I think we're going to get to see some of that this week, because he's got fantastic speed as a linebacker. He brings the hit when he hits somebody. So I think we'll be talking about him. Some really great questions came in. Will, welcome, Will. Will's an Ohio State fan who joins us almost every time we're live. Glad you're with us, Will. He said, Vinny and Cole, would Kentucky pony up enough catch to make a run at the defensive coordinator for
offensive
coordinator for Ohio State.
He's been mentioned.
He has. That's an interesting one. I think to really answer that question, we have to get a better understanding of the full scope of the situation at Kentucky right now. Obviously, there's a lot of conversation about Stoops and the end of his tenure coming up, but we also have to acknowledge the fact that Kentucky's athletic director probably nearing the end of his tenure there. Kentucky's president also probably nearing the end of his tenure there. There's going to be some major shakeups at the university coming up, both president and athletics director probably in the next few years, if not a lot sooner than that. So in that front, from what I've been hearing about who is expected to kind of fill some of those roles, there's going to be a bigger emphasis on spending money on athletics and making money in athletics, making those programs filter in as much money as possible, particularly on the football front. So I'm not ready to go all out and say yes right now, but it would not shock me if the next coach Kentucky hires is kind of Kentucky trying to make a bigger splash, reach out more than they might have in years prior or hires prior, and make a larger emphasis to prioritize football as much as possibly can be done with the way Kentucky treats its basketball program.
And, we're starved for offense. He's an offensive guy. His brother, Mike, is here on staff or, in a capacity right now. So there's that familial connection. So it's, he's already checking boxes. I'm not saying he's the guy and they got a meeting right now at Jeff Ruby's and it's going down. I'm not saying that, but he's definitely in the mix. Summerall, Will Stein, Kentucky connections if you want to go that route, as well as wherever the search may take them.
Hal Mummy's still available.
Hey, sure.
I hear Joker Phillips is too. Like, what else do you want to do?
Richard said, to Vinny's point, he said Eric Angels High School is just down the street. Real nice stadium.
Oh, wow.
Jonathan
That's
said,
a small world.
He said, if our defense plays the way it has been, Kentucky's running backs will probably have a big day. We've been very good at making other offenses look really good lately. So maybe it's just what the doctor ordered for the Kentucky offensive staff.
Is it just the two corners? Is that boil it down? Is just the two corners being out that messed everything up?
Well, that was the beginning. So when the two corners went down, it shuffled the entire rest of the secondary. And so almost we play a 4-2-5. So out of the 5 starting DBs, only one is in the position he was originally supposed to be. So, basically your entire secondary are all the second string because it's everybody's second position. And when that happened, then we had a couple of injuries up front. Our edges have played extremely well. They've stayed healthy. Defensive tackles are starting to get healthy. They're all starting to come back. But for a while there, depth was a major issue. And at linebacker, depth is always an issue. We do not play a lot of guys there. And as a result, it's we've got a couple of youngsters there who could end up getting major minutes Saturday, and that would be good for them because they haven't seen enough snaps. But they're also young and freshmen in the SEC.
Yeah,
right.
You never know what you're going to get.
Man, that is.
So Edwin Spillman, the guy I mentioned earlier, he's a redshirt freshman. If Arion doesn't play him, he'll be starting. It'll be him and Jeremiah Thielander. The next two guys, and another problem is Ben Bolton, who would have been the next guy off the bench. He's also on the injury report.
Yeah.
And so the next two guys coming in are both two true freshmen. Jaden Perlotti and Jaden Harmon. So the first 4 dudes on the field at linebacker for Tennessee is going to be senior.
He's not listed junior on the injury report, but Jaden Harmon's also playing banged up. So it wouldn't take much to get him on the injury report.
So you're going to have junior, redshirt freshman, true freshman. And all 4 dudes are going to see a lot of playing time on Saturday. So it's not a great situation for Tennessee and linebacker right now. Richard said, I think we have a big day running the ball. Rhonda said, hopefully we talk about better clock management. Jonathan said, I want us to be talking about our running backs, and I want to be talking about our defensive backs making solid tackles. Amen. Let's see. Backflip Sketty said, I'm just going to stay out of this prediction game this time around. Let's see. Will said he doesn't think Hartline would leave until Jeremiah Smith leaves. Richard said, I don't think Arion Carter is going to play. They're probably resting for the Oklahoma game.
It's not a matter of resting him. And somebody says this later in the comments. He had turf toe, and because he was trying to overcompensate for it, he actually created another turf toe. So he now has two, and he can hardly walk.
Audrey is 100% correct. She said, we definitely wouldn't know anything about having turnover in administration. Yeah, Tennessee is very well aware and very well accustomed to that. Backflip Spaghetti said, y'all could look at Derek Dooley as an option for coach.
My man, Derek Dooley.
No, he's running for Senate. He's out.
Yeah.
Wow.
Audrey said she hears Billy Napier's available.
He's from Tennessee, but I mean,
Mar Vallis, that's a new name I hadn't seen.
Oh.
Welcome. I'm glad you're with us. It said our linebackers don't fill gaps. Very few of our defenders tackle well. That is accurate. Very few of them have been tackling well lately.
Yeah.
You can always bank on Colton Hood to wrap up. Idris Farouk might not wrap up, but he's going to lay a hit on somebody before he might or might not wrap up.
Yeah.
David Hobbs, Bryson Eason, Elijah Herring, all those dudes are Joshua Josephs, Jordan Ross. All those dudes are fantastic about wrapping up. But there's some others that don't. I'll just put that.
Yeah, it's like we say all the time. It's an 11-man game, and you can have 10 play the possession as perfectly as humanly possible, but one guy can give up 7.
Yeah.
And we've had too much of that. We've had too many times where 10 guys are playing their tail off, and one person misses their assignment, and all of a sudden we give up a touchdown.
Yep. Well, it is that time. For all of you watching, we invite you to also give us your score predictions in the comments. Vinny, I'll tell you what, we'll start with you, and then Cole, we'd love to hear your score prediction, and then we'll go to Ruston, and then I'll wrap up the score predictions. It is at Kroger Field. It's a road game for Tennessee. Tennessee historically not great on the road. I got a funny question for you, Al, from Andrew here in just a minute about that. Night game, 7:45 on SEC Network, 7:45 Eastern, 6:45 Central. So I'd love to hear you all your predictions. Vinny, we'll start with you.
I just went on the record yesterday, and it's just kind of surprising. And look, you guys, I'm not disputing it or disagreeing with y'all, but just to hear kind of the shape that Tennessee is defensively, depth-wise, injury-wise, especially when you don't watch them as close as y'all, giving up points. And I mean, I watched the Mississippi State game and Georgia, but the defense being as vulnerable and attackable, if that's a word, but Kentucky, to me, still isn't equipped enough to exploit it. I'm going to have to see them light up a scoreboard before I believe they can light up a scoreboard. So I said it last night. I'm going to stay the same. 30-13 Tennessee is where I got it. I just can't see Kentucky manufacturing anything just yet. Their cutter's making progress. Great, yes. Complete 80% of his passes. But we gotta finish drives. You gotta cross into pay dirt. That's the name of the game, and we haven't done enough for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's a couple things that go well for Kentucky in this one. An offense that's been steadily improving going into defense that's been a bit shakier this year. I think that can put Kentucky on pace to score the most points it has all season. But with that in mind, I've seen this movie before. I think when Tennessee comes into Kroger Field, it might be a one-score game. Kentucky might keep it close. The Vols are going to win it. I think that's going to be the case. I predicted 35-28 Kentucky, or 35-28 Tennessee. My apologies. And so far for my predictions this season, I've been wrong. One time I gave Kentucky the benefit of the doubt against South Carolina. Ever since then, I've said I'll believe it when I see it. So until Kentucky does something to tell me that they're not going to do the same thing that they've always done since the dawn of time, I'm going to say they're going to, lose a close, hard-fought home game to Tennessee and lose another conference game. Give Tennessee more wins inside Kroger Field than Kentucky itself has against SEC opponents in over a year. It's absurd.
I feel you. Ruston, what about you?
So in SEC games, Kentucky's lost by an average of 30-13. That's been their average score in the 4 SEC games. I think Arian Carter will play limited snaps, and that'll probably give up one extra scoring drive. Tim Banks' defense has been good about keeping things in check in the red zone, except big play receivers. We know Kentucky doesn't have one of those, so that I'm not worried about as much. So I think that extra possession score will probably be a field goal. So I'm going to give Kentucky 16, slightly more than their normal average because of Arian Carter. I do think we're probably going to look to establish the run a little more than typical. Clock runs more when you do that. I think Kentucky is probably going to try to play ball control as well and keep our offense off the field. Clock runs more when you do that, so that's going to limit our possessions. I think we scored 31 and beat them 31-16.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, when I'm talking about what I hope to see this game, I hope that we finally hold an SEC opponent under 30 points. That's my hope. We have not done that yet this season. I kind of feel like Cole in that, should we do that? Yeah, we should. But I also feel like I got to believe it, see it to believe it kind of thing. So I don't think that Kentucky can keep pace with Tennessee. Is Tennessee going to put points on the board? Yeah, of course they are. That's what they do this year. Do I think Kentucky can keep pace with them? I don't. So with that being said, I'm going to go Vols 41, Kentucky 28. I think we finally do hold someone under 30 points. But, we mentioned this last night on their show. Tennessee, if they score quickly, which they should, that means their defense, which is already depleted with injuries on a couple positions, is going to be on the field even more, which makes them more vulnerable to give up more points. I think Kentucky will dominate the time of possession in this game. So with that being said, Tennessee 41, Kentucky 28. Some of the comments that came through, Backflip Spaghetti said, appreciate your humility and honesty, Cole. I feel you. Audrey said, okay, now I kind of feel bad for you guys. Let's see.
Rough stretch, Audrey. It's been a rough year.
Hey, we lived it for 10 years. Trust
Yes.
me. We know what a rough stretch looks like.
Well, I mentioned to them, last night with the Derek Dooley nail in the coffin was when Tennessee lost to Kentucky, and Kentucky was playing a wide receiver at quarterback. Unbelievable.
I stormed the field after that game. I was there.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was look, y'all know the history of the streak. I said it last night. Ruston, look, Kentucky won in Neyland in 84, 17-12. And, had I known it would be 28 years before they win again, I would have paid a little more attention. As a 7-year-old, I don't really remember what was going on. I don't remember that game. So the next time Kentucky beats Tennessee, I'm 34. I'm married, got 2 kids in 2011. So about 04, 05, my dad, my sister, and I said, we're going to every Kentucky-Tennessee game until we beat them. 04, we lost. 05 Vanderbilt beats y'all and breaks their streak with Jay Cutler and all those guys. I'm like, hey, maybe there's hope for us. No, we still have to wait 6 more years. So, been
That
through all
07 game, though.
Yeah, been
Four
through all that.
overtimes.
Yeah, all those. It's freezing the 4 overtime games. And so finally we get the, Tyler Bray and those guys and thankful, my man, Derek Dooley. We appreciate you.
He could find more creative ways to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. It was incredible. That man created ways to lose games,
including having 13 players on the field.
Yes. Oh, that was
not 12.
or potentially as many as 20. Like you have to. They're running on and off. It's hard to count sometimes.
That's an all-timer right there, man.
Yeah. Marvalis said 42-28. So that's pretty close to what I said. I said 41-28.
Hey, 28 points, but they put up 28. I will. Hey.
Hal Mummy came back.
Yeah, he had to talk to him before the game. He get a pregame speech or something.
I believe Orange said 42-31 Tennessee. Will said 35-24 Tennessee. Richard said 38-14 Tennessee. Whoa, Jonathan. Jonathan saying Tennessee 52-20.
That's the
man. That's a lot.
That's the Peyton Manning 10 couch scores. That's those games. 56-35.
I'd love to see that. Backflip Spaghetti said, "Can your horses run as far as ours can?" That's great. Let's see. Stingray said he'll give us his predictions Sunday night. Nolan said 38-13 Vols. Rhonda said not doing it after last week's prediction. Let's see. Rebel Jew, welcome, buddy. He said 38-20 Vols. Slim said 28-17 Vols. That's a pretty low scoring game right there. Mississippi Vols said 31-24 Tennessee. Some of the other predictions. Audrey said she likes your cat, Cole. Let's see.
She loves the attention. She's been on any kind of show and she's got to make an appearance. Her name's Kat, so she does her thing.
Creative.
Backflips. Backflip Spaghetti said, they hope that we take what happened last week as inspiration. And I'm glad you mentioned that. So last night, Vinny asked me a really good question. He said, do you think with Oklahoma coming to town next week, do you think Tennessee at any point might overlook this game? And that's a great question. I don't think Tennessee overlooks this because Tennessee knows they have zero wiggle room now. And here's another reason why I think Tennessee scores at least 40 tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Saturday. I know that technically style points don't matter. Yeah, right. Whatever. They absolutely matter. I think everybody on the screen right now, among the four of us and everybody watching it at home, all knows the committee value style points. They just do. Tennessee, they can't take their foot off the gas pedal anymore. They have to win, and they have to win convincingly because they have too many other things that have to happen in order for them to make the playoff. California or Duke has to beat Virginia. That's the weirdest sentence I've ever said in my life. Texas Tech needs to lose to BYU. Preferably BYU needs to go undefeated and win the Big 12 championship game too. That would be really helpful, actually. Vanderbilt needs to beat Missouri this weekend, and then we need to beat Vanderbilt. Like, there's so many things that have to happen. Tennessee has zero wiggle room. They can't overlook a single play, much less a game. I mean, like, this is not good territory for the Vols as far as like how close and narrow their margin of being in and out of the playoff is right now. Like they have to perform extremely well.
Yeah, I mean, any discussion that the committee doesn't value style points went out the window as soon as Florida State got left out of the college football playoffs. If you can go undefeated, win a conference title, and still get left out of the 14 playoff, the only explanation is that they did not look convincing enough doing so in those last few games. So how you win is arguably just as important as getting the win itself. You can absolutely win a game and still lose in the eyes of the committee.
Absolutely. Jonathan said, I love how honest and humble Vinny and Cole are. I'm not a Kentucky fan, but I'll be checking y'all's podcast out. I appreciate that, Jonathan.
Appreciate that, Jonathan.
Let's see. Will says, bet the house and life savings on Ohio State doesn't lose this week because they have a bye week. Let's see.
Kentucky found ways to lose to bye weeks plenty of times, so I'm not saying it's impossible. Not saying it's impossible.
Herb asked a good question. He said, just joined. Is this Stoops last year in y'all's opinion? So they answered that earlier. They think it very well could be.
I just don't see how it can't be unless next year is just going to be one of the bleakest things I think you've ever seen in college football.
Rhonda said the reason we lost was Dooley's breeches, the orange breeches, distracted his players. His famous pants. That's what he's known for. Isn't that sad? The coach was most known for his pants instead of what happened on the field. That's kind of sad. Let's see. Backflip Scuddy said, okay, y'all twisted my arm 35-28. So he's got the same prediction as you, Cole. 35-28 Vols. Kevin, welcome, buddy. He said 52-10 Vols, first complete game of the year. Man, I love it. I would love that. I just don't foresee it happening. Let's see. Jonathan said the reason that he predicted 52 is he thinks we have a few defensive and or special teams touchdowns. Now, I will say this. I don't know about the defensive ones, but it could be. And just so you guys know, this is how night and day Tennessee's defense is. Right now, they're second in the country in sacks. They're also second in the country, or 106th. It might have gone down. Last week, they were second in the country in sacks and 106th in points allowed. So it's feast or famine. They either get to the quarterback or y'all pick us apart. One of the two. That's what's, and so hopefully the feast happens, but we'll see.
Hey, to that comment, the first complete game possibility. If you just want a bit more context on where Kentucky's at right now, obviously, individuals not represent the fan base as a whole, but there's two separate incidents I've had in the last 2 weeks. One, someone this week said, I believe I saw on Twitter, someone just straight up admitted, I hope Tennessee blows out Kentucky because it increases the chances they fire Mark Stoops mid-season. And I was talking to someone, I was walking around outside the stadium before the Texas game, talking to somebody, and they said the quote to me, they said, man, I hope Kentucky can get a win today, but I just know long-term, it would probably be in our best interest to lose this one just so we can make a change. I mean, that's where you're at, and that's where Florida was at too, right before Napier finally got canned there too.
That's where we were at with Butch and Jeremy Pruitt.
Yeah,
and he got fired after a win.
Yeah, I mean, once you got the fan base almost hoping you lose just so they can finally rip the Band-Aid off, that's when it's kind of over at that point.
Yeah, amen. Well, I got one last question for you guys that Andrew Moss submitted all the way back at 9:18 p.m. Andrew, I hope you're still watching, buddy. That's my fault for waiting this long, but I thought it was a good question. He said, we are not a good road team, which we are not. That is an accurate statement. Could you two provide us with a little bulletin board material that we could motivate our team with this week?
The problem is the last 2 weeks, somebody's given us bulletin board material. Then we let both dudes go out and back it up.
Yeah, so exactly.
There's no such thing as bulletin board material with Tennessee defense.
Yeah, the receiver from Alabama said that there's a lot of holes in our defense, and they were looking forward to exposing it. And then they did that. They went ahead and did that very thing. So that was a lot of fun.
Well, and then the week before, the Washington kid at running back for Arkansas said he was excited after watching game film, and he couldn't wait to get carries, and then he had a career high against us. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not usually the kind of guy to do any kind of bulletin board material thing for, especially not in favor of Kentucky, I suppose. But yeah, sure, I'll provide some. not a whole lot this football team can say right now, but you got basketball season coming up. Tony V leaving in baseball. Kenny Brooks proclaiming big things for women's basketball. So, I mean, enjoy the win over Kentucky. It might be the last one you get over the Cats for the rest of the year.
Oh, very good. Very good. Well, guys, we really do appreciate y'all so much for joining us. It's been a lot of fun. We're gonna talk about some baseball and Tony Vitello because we have to actually. So,
it's not an option.
Yeah, it's been a rough couple days as Vols fans. I'll be honest with you, but thank you both so much for joining us. We appreciate you both so much. We hope to maybe we can do this again during basketball season. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't y'all remind us, Vinny, since you didn't get to do it at the beginning, why don't you remind us where people can find you all, where they can follow you, all that good stuff.
We're part of the Bleav network, like you guys. Bleav in Kentucky, Kentucky, together.
No underscores, right? Just straight through.
Yeah, straight through.
Okay.
Cole and my Twitter are right here on the screen. We got the link tree. Get you TikTok, and Facebook, and all the accounts there. Hit us up on Twitter. Like, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And typically we record on Tuesday or Wednesday evenings. Just kind of rotate whatever's going on with our schedules. Sometimes we have guests. Sometimes it's Cole and myself. We had last night, Evan. Had a good time. We definitely enjoyed getting to know you guys and meet y'all and your fan base and followers and viewers here tonight. So been a lot of fun, and check us out. Or if you know some Kentucky fans down that way, tell them about us.
Absolutely. Yeah, Audrey said thanks, Cole and Vinny. Mina Laggy said night, fellas. Thank you, Bleav in Kentucky. Rhonda said thanks for joining us tonight, guys. Slim said Vinny and Cole and gave you away with some cat paws there, which that's the name of the 247 that Cole's part of.
Yeah.
Jonathan said thanks, Cole and Vinny. Stingray said goodbye to you guys as well. Seriously, we so appreciate you all. This was a lot of fun. We hope, like I said, we hope maybe basketball is going to be fun because both teams are going to be really good. And so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Play
so
twice.
maybe we'll have, yeah, exactly. So hopefully we can meet up again during that season. How about that?
That sounds
good.
Great.
And
appreciate
you guys having us on this. You've got a very lovely chat, and yeah, it was nice to meet Kat. She's back there playing with something she's not supposed to have right now, so have to go deal with that in a second. But it's been great to be here. Obviously, a very lovely fan base, very lovely chat here in the episode. So happy to do it.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much. We will see you guys soon.
All right. Take care, fellas.
Take care.
All righty. Well, that was awesome. They were awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I guess now it's time to get down to the not fun part of the show.
Do you want me to handle this part?
Yeah. So for the 350 people watching across all three platforms right now, first of all, thank you for joining us. It was a lot of fun having Vinny and Cole on here. They're great, man. They're such awesome guys, and it's really enjoyed getting to talk with them. There's no way we could have a show tonight and not talk about Tony Vitello. I'm going to give my quick thoughts, and then I'm going to let Ruston take over from there. I don't think anyone will ever know the full story. I think there's a lot of stuff that's going on. I think a lot of it that people want. I know, Audrey, I'm feeling you already. I think there is more stuff that has happened than anybody could begin to talk about, explain. I mean, obviously there's a lot that we can and do know happened, but I think that there's even more that people may not know the whole story of both sides. Because listen, there's always two sides to every story. Always. What we all do know is this. If you are given the opportunity to be the very first person to ever go from coaching a college team to being a major league manager, you are literally making history at that moment. It would be so difficult to turn down that opportunity. Listen, not just because of that, but because you're a competitor. Like, listen, we just had the guys from Bleav in Kentucky on here. Think about Rick Pitino. Think about Nick Saban. Think about John Calipari. All these guys that won it all. The highest you could achieve at the collegiate level. The competitor within you even wants to know, can I do that at the next level? Can I do that? And so surely that had a part of this too, because we all know Tony is the ultimate competitor. We know that. And so that had to have been at least a little bit of it. He's reached the pinnacle at this level. Can he do it at the next? Those thoughts surely were in his mind at some point. But I also agree with Audrey and Rhonda as well. You know, Audrey said, no, you stay with your team. Rhonda said, yes, but the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You're exactly right. Just ask Rick Pitino, John Calipari, and Nick Saban. All three of them ended back up in the college ranks. My concern is that Dave Van Horn is going to retire in a couple of years, and Tony is going to not have it pan out the way he wants to and end up back at Arkansas. That's my concern. I don't want that to happen. Let me run through what's been said so far, Ruston, and then you take over. Elijah said it still hasn't fully set in that he's gone. It feels so weird. I agree. Rhonda said it's been unbearable. Yep. Jonathan said, Ruston, is there any truth with Danny White and Tony V having a falling out over NIL?
No, that is not true.
Herb said, well, when Danny and AD department didn't show for Asuna eligibility court case, revealed a lot. Slim said, I'm happy for Tony. I just hope that he wasn't done wrong.
No, he was not.
Jonathan said, it surprised me Frank Anderson was named interim coach. Does Elander get the job? That's a great question. We'll talk about that for sure. Nolan, channel member, welcome, buddy. He said, I think Tony will regret this decision. Potentially. I mean, Nick Saban, Calipari, and Pitino all regretted it. So, Whoa, All said, I feel like this hasn't been talked about all week. How is Joey's health for Saturday? He was obviously in pain around the neck area. That is accurate. He was, but he wasn't even on the injury report, so he should be good to go. Tony said, I know a booster that said Danny White was okay with Tony V leaving. His press conference told me a lot. All right, well, with that being said, go ahead, Rustin.
All right, so I've tried to figure out how to formulate this, and I'll take questions after I'm done talking. But understand, I may be able to answer, I may not. And if I say I can't answer that, you're just gonna have to be good with it. I am connected to someone, and again, I have to be very careful how I say this because I'm not supposed to know any of this. I am very connected to someone with direct knowledge, meaning literally in the conversations, has been a part of the negotiation. So this started about 2 weeks ago. The Giants put out a feeler. Tony is all the things that we as fans love about Tony Vitello and his coaching staff, because Josh Elander is just like him, Ross Kivett is just like him, Frank Anderson is just like him. They all have really big egos and they're passionate. And that can be a huge positive in recruiting. That can be a huge positive in motivation on the field. Behind closed doors and staff meetings, that's not always a good thing. And you have to take the good with the bad. When you've got high caliber employees who have big egos, have big energy, big passion, you kind of have to just roll with it and go, okay, that's just who they are. And you at times just have to kind of manage them. If you caught in the press conference, Danny White said something that I was honestly surprised he said out loud. It has been the reality for a while. He admitted that he doesn't have any interaction with assistant coaches. So for those of us who have been in meetings with people,
his line of reasoning was he feels like there should be a chain of command.
Yeah. It's also some of, I've got just as big of an ego as these high profile coaches that I'm employing. And so I have people for that. So when you got a lot of egos in the room, and one of those egos, and to his credit, he named this, and I was proud of him for naming this. Tennessee, and I knew we were in the top 5. I didn't know we were number 1. Tennessee has the number 1 baseball budget in America, $14 million. Okay. That's a non-revenue sport. If Tennessee baseball is producing $14 million a year, then it's not coming in merch. So that means they've got some heavy hitter donors that are anteing up and saying, we'll foot the difference, because baseball isn't going to make $14 million a year. So when you look at, Tony has invested the largest baseball budget in America. They've got a $100 million stadium being built. He's got a big ego. He's sitting there going, dude, I can't do anything else for you. Like, we've literally given you the keys to the kingdom. So if you still want to chase this dream and go be the first college coach ever to jump straight from college to major league manager, then that's a choice you've got to make. And if you want to do that, then take your shot. But there's nothing else we can do to improve your situation here, because you literally have the best situation in America. So anytime you have, in an athletic department, anytime you've got a big ego at athletic director and a big ego at the head coaching job, and then that head coach has a bunch of assistants that have the exact same personality as him, there's going to be concepts that are going to trickle down to the players just because of how much time those coaches spend with those players. They live with them. They are together constantly. Sometimes those coaches are with those players more than they are their own families. And so, there's stuff that just organically trickles down to the players. So when you see a bunch of players online airing grievances and airing their thought processes and all politicking for Josh Elander, it's because there's a thought process that has been trickled down to them over time that is based somewhat in reality, but also has a little bit of ego involved, where they're only hearing one side of the story. Now, I will also say, and I was glad Danny unpacked the revenue stuff. All the revenue sharing, there was a rumor floating around that Tony didn't get the right amount of revenue sharing. That's all false. Danny White did exactly what the government said by law that revenue share had to be. There was a rumor floating around that Arkansas gave Dan Van Horn all the women's basketball money. Okay, first of all, if that's true, and no one has been able to prove that's true, if that's true, Hunter Yurachek just broke Title IX.
Right.
And he's going to be arrested. So I highly doubt that that's true. Is it possible that some donor at Arkansas changed the amount that came to baseball to match women's basketball? Yeah, that's possible. But under no circumstances unless I see legitimate proof, there's no way I will ever believe that Arkansas's athletic director violated Title IX and gave women's basketball money to the baseball program. That's just not done. So all that to be said, people are saying, well, why did he promote Why did he promote Frank instead of Josh? It's honestly pretty simple. Frank Elander is an old man. He's going to retire at UT.
Frank Anderson.
He ain't going anywhere, nor does he want to go anywhere. His best friend is Rick Barnes. He wants to ride off in the sunset and hang out in Knoxville with Rick Barnes when they're done coaching. Okay? He's not going anywhere. Josh Elander, Ross Cavett, Kirby Cannell, all the other guys that are around are all young. They've got their whole lives in front of them. When he admitted that Tennessee has a $14 million baseball budget and a $100 million baseball renovation happening, my first thought, and I'm just going to be candid now, my first thought was, you can't hire Josh Elander. I've seen too many great recruiters who were really good assistant coaches who absolutely sucked as head coaches. And then they ended up being lifetime assistant coaches because they failed miserably as a head coach. I don't know if Josh Elander is that guy. He may not be. He may end up being wildly successful as a head coach. But his first time trying cannot be with the number one budget in America. You can't take a chance on that. The other reason you can't take a chance on that is, just to be candid, there are really good coaches all over the country who would kill for this job. And I told all of our subscribers, our membership people, I was going to say tonight who my first choice would be for this job. You've got an offensive team that's been built on guerrilla ball. We're going to hit the ball out of the ballpark. We're going to play big. We're going to be strong. We're going to bust out of our jerseys. We're going to be huge dudes. So you need a head coach with that mentality. He needs to be able to walk in and go, hey, I know y'all showed up here to play guerrilla ball. We're going to keep playing guerrilla ball. Let's go hit it 100 times a day over the fence as far as we can. You also need a head coach who's going to walk in and go, Frank Anderson is a genius. He wants to retire here. That dude can stay and be pitching coach as long as he wants. I worry about hitting. He can have the pitchers. I'm good with that. Let's roll.
That's what Tony did.
That man is not that far away. Cliff Godwin at East Carolina, who has an annual budget of $3 million and almost knocked us out of the Super Regionals this past year, who is the fourth winningest active coach in college baseball. And before you say, well, what about the three above him? They're all three pitching guys. So they don't fit. So the number one hitting guy, who's the current highest active winning head coach, and oh, by the way, he's above every SEC coach in winning percentage except Kevin O'Sullivan. So he has a higher winning percentage than literally every coach in the SEC. He's a guerrilla ball guy. He'll let Frank Anderson handle all the pitchers, and he'll stay the heck out of the way. And the dude wins, and the dude wins at a high level. If that man can do the things at East Carolina that he's done with $3 million a year, imagine what he would do with $14 million a year and a new $100 million stadium. We would be banging on the front door of the national championship every single year. That man wins, and this is the perfect fit for him. And so I don't want to give the reins to Josh Elander. I want us to go over. Do you know how much Cliff Godwin gets paid at East Carolina? $600,000 a year. We could offer him $2 million a year, save money, because Tony was getting $3 million, and he would be like, where do I pack? When do you want me? So we can go get an incredibly high-level winning coach who all of these, somebody just said, what about all of our recruits? Every recruit in America in in high school baseball knows all about Cliff Godwin. They've all watched college baseball closely. They know East Carolina. They know what he does. They watched all the ESPN highlight reels, all the Sports Center clips. They know him well. It would not hurt recruiting in the slightest. Honestly, some of our bottom-end assistants, just to be able to say that they worked under Cliff Godwin, would probably stay. So, guys like Kirby Cannell, the Serrano kid, there's some GAs and guys like that with deep baseball backgrounds who would probably stay just to be able to say, I worked under Cliff Godwin. So, there's opportunity to keep a lot of people, bring in a big name coach who's actually going to guaranteed win right away, who fits perfectly with the current roster and who would come in a heartbeat. So all that to say, I hate it that Tony's gone. I hate that Josh Elander has been put in this situation. I don't think it's the right thing to promote him. I think it's the right thing to go hire somebody who can walk in, plug and play, win right now, who fits our personnel. And I think that guy wants the job if they call him. So, and, this is not all Danny White's fault. There was not some kind of slight around money. Danny did, and Dondy Plowman and Randy Boyd did everything they could to provide everything they possibly could. Tony Vitello has the best gig in America, hands down.
Agreed.
And the San Francisco Giants gave him a chance to be historic. And so, it would make sense that he would struggle with that. He's a baseball guy first and foremost. John said Tony would probably take Elander anyway. If Elander does not get offered the job, I would almost guarantee you he'll go with Tony. So, the sky is not falling. This is the number one program in America. They've got the top 2 or 3 recruiting classes lined up. A lot of those kids are connected to Frank. They all know Frank. They all like him. And they all know Cliff Godwin. Like, that's not going to be weird for him to walk in the door and they're like, who are you again? Like, when he walks in, they all know who Cliff Godwin is. So I'll take questions.
Well, I will say this. I have my wife has a very good friend who lives in Kansas City. She went to ECU because her fiance was a baseball player at ECU for Coach Godwin. And they still travel out to see games. He still talks to Godwin to this day. Like, he speaks very highly of Coach Godwin. So that, that is a positive thing for Coach Godwin. His former players still love him and still want to talk to him, still support the program, that kind of thing.
John just asked, do we still keep Q as strength coach? I would say probably not.
Tony said he's the main coach that he would want the new coach to keep.
I would almost guarantee he will be going with Tony, and it's the same deal. There's no way for his role, Tennessee cannot match what the Giants will be willing to pay him. And we talked about this before I had a chance to talk to this individual. We talked about this on here when the rumors first started, and I knew it was a possibility, but I didn't really think it was going to go anywhere. But this is when I knew, once I talked to this person, I knew, okay, this is probably going to happen. He felt like Tony was 75% Giants, 25% Vols the entire time. He felt like Tony was blown away. So Tony was the Giants' first choice. And whereas we kind of had the perspective of the longer this drags on, the less likely he's going, it was actually the opposite. The Giants flat told him, we're willing to wait. You take your time, figure out what you want to do. Which, again, no matter how big your ego is, when a professional sports program or organization says to you, you're our guy, take your time deciding what you want, we're not putting a deadline on it, that's a big deal.
Well, and for Buster Posey, who is making this hire, this is a all-in kind of move for him. If this doesn't work out for the Giants, he's going to be fired along with Tony whenever if that day comes.
Yeah.
Jonathan, we are glad you're with us, buddy. Thanks for joining us. Audrey said, so Danny really does want a completely clean house.
No, he's done everything he possibly could to keep everybody. But again, as we said the other night, there's a ceiling. Like, you can only spend so much. And now he's at a place where he's not spending university money, he's spending other people's money. And some of those donors get to a point where they're like, dude, I've given you all I'm going to give. So, you know, he doesn't want a completely clean house. He's looking for a coach who will keep Frank on staff. So, you know, he's happy. He's happy to, you know, to keep any of them that want to stay.
Tony said, Chris Burke said a book can be written on how the situation with Tony was handled. Chris knows quite a bit about it. He just isn't saying it right now.
I'm not saying it was all roses and kisses behind closed doors. Like, again, there's a lot of big egos in that room. And big egos tend to run into each other pretty strongly.
Stingray said, Ruston, has Godwin been mentioned within the university from your source?
Yes.
Tony asked, I heard the Coastal Carolina coach is on the list. What do you know about him?
Yeah. So Kevin Schnall is a really good coach. I don't necessarily want him. I don't think he fits our player personnel. And just to be candid, high school kids, Cliff Godwin's a little more he's a bigger presence on the recruiting trail. High school kids obviously know the Coastal program. Coastal's done well, but it's viewed more as a JUCO haven than I'm going to go there out of high school and develop right away. So, you know, whereas Cliff Godwin is known around the country as an incredible developer of talent. Like, you can go to East Carolina as a 2 or a 3-star, and by your junior year, he's going to have you on draft boards. So, you know, people around the country know that about him, and he's viewed a little more highly than Kevin Schnall is.
Well, and I think you made a great point in that this is the top spending program in the country now. This deserves the best coach in the country. I mean, like, that's the bottom line.
Yep.
Rhonda said, egos aside, this fan base loved him and supported him. He could have made this program a dynasty. He did. I mean, that's the thing, he did.
If they get this hire right, they won't miss a beat. They've got all the resources in place. They've got the players. Jimmy's and Joe's make a big difference, and if they get this hire right, they can move forward well.
John said the only relevant program at ECU is the baseball team. Yeah. Audrey said, very interesting, you know, from hearing different things from different folks. I mean, like I said, there's two sides to every story. Yeah.
And I'm trying to tactfully give both sides. You know, again, this is coming from somebody who's literally been in the room. So
Tony asked about the Oregon coach.
Yeah.
I
don't
sure
think
Nike will have a say about that.
Yeah, I almost wonder if Danny's just doing that to spite Nike as we leave. I don't see him as a good fit. He's a small ball guy. That is not our roster. I've heard his name kicked around. He's definitely come up. I don't see it. The other thing I love about Cliff Godwin, he was an assistant coach at Vanderbilt and LSU. Like, the man understands the SEC. And he was the hitting coach for several years at LSU when they were dropping bombs everywhere. So I just think he's a much better fit. I think he walks right in and we don't miss a beat. And I really hope they back the Brinks truck up over at his house, and actually won't have to be as big of a Brinks truck, because he would take 2/3 of what Tony was getting and be happy as a lark. So
it would be more than double his current pay.
Right.
Let's see. Elijah said, I'm just terrified Vitello is like Nick Saban, like we've been saying for a few years, and it turns out that we were his LSU. Yeah, I think that's
Possible.
a fair assessment. Rebel Jew said that his profile pic is him using AI to make himself a Vol football player. That's what I'm talking about.
But I'm telling you, and I know I'm sound like a broken record, So let's say Tony goes to the majors. They don't, they'll give him a little longer runway because I think he's going to have some player personnel decision making. They'll probably give him 4 years instead of 3. So let's say 4 years from now, the Giants are struggling. Dave Van Horn retires and Tony leaves the Giants and comes back to Arkansas. You give Cliff Godwin 4 years with this program and that budget and that new stadium, it's going to be us in Arkansas for the national championship every year. Because Cliff Godwin is going to win at a high level. He's done it everywhere he's been.
Yeah, I mean, he's made ECU a perennial super regional contender. I mean, every single year. I will say this. It is interesting when you consider what Danny White has done for Tony that this decision even became a thing. Because, I mean, yeah, let's not beat around the bush. Like they're making $109 million renovation of the stadium because that's what Tony wanted. And he was like, if you want to keep me here, show me that you're willing to invest in the program. So they took the annual budget from $3.5 million to $14 million. They're doing a $109 million stadium renovation because those are the things that Tony asked for. So the university did what he wanted. But at the end of the day, you have the chance to become the first person to ever do something in the history of the game of baseball. It's hard to pass it up, I guess.
Tony Mosier just asked if Tyler Johnson is my source, or is that something I can't answer? I can't answer it, but I will tell you I was really happy, and Tyler's not the person, by the way, but I will say I was really happy to hear that. I was happy to hear Danny say in the press conference that he wants people on the hiring team who know baseball. And when
Todd
I saw
Helton
today,
is one of them, apparently.
Right. When I saw today that Tyler Johnson and Todd Helton are on the hiring team, that was a really good move. Tyler Johnson knows Tennessee baseball as well or better than literally anyone. He has been knee deep in that program for the last 5 years, just got promoted to a higher level, but he was the representative of the athletic department over the baseball program. He has seen what's worked. He's seen what's failed. He knows that program inside and out, and he knows baseball. And he's just a really smart guy. Add him along with Todd Helton's knowledge of coaching and what works and what doesn't. That was a really good move by Danny White to have those two individuals on the hiring team.
Let's see some of the other comments coming through. Bobby, welcome, Bobby. Good to have you, man. He said they'll be at the game Saturday night. I hope you have a great time, man. I hope you get to see a Tennessee win. Rhonda said Tony may go into broadcasting if it doesn't work out in Major League. Yeah, he might. He sure might. He'll come back to probably collegiate levels and coach for a while first. Audrey said Reed posted today that Tony and Danny had never had a sit-down face-to-face meeting. That is insane. Yeah, if that's accurate, which I'm sure it is, that's nuts.
So, depending on how you want to interpret face-to-face, that could be true. You also have to understand there's agents involved. And, sometimes the agents insert themselves even if it's not necessarily their job to be inserted. So to some extent that is true. But it doesn't mean that they weren't actively communicating. They were talking. Sometimes there was a go-between because the agent had inserted himself. But yeah, I mean, there's some validity to that.
I'm glad Rhonda said this. Rhonda said Danny White also said he would listen to the team and their desires. It was fascinating. Go ahead.
I think that's going to go miserably, and I don't think they're going to like how that goes down. Just my opinion.
It was fascinating how quickly all of the former players for Tony Vitello started tweeting out at Danny White on Twitter, this is an easy decision. It should be Josh Elander. When Danny White was in the press conference, he said, and kudos to him, he knows like the transfer portal's opening for these guys. And don't you know that every single player on Tennessee's baseball team and all of their families' telephones have been blowing up from colleges all over the country, trying to get them to transfer in. Honestly, Coach Godwin may be contacting some of our players right now to come to ECU. I mean, I'm sure that there is, unless he knows he's a candidate for the job, in which case he will not be doing that. I guarantee you they have gotten so many texts, so many messages over the last few days. And to Danny White's credit, he knows that's happening too. And so his first thing is we're going to make sure our players are okay, that they're taken care of. He said he's going to get, like he always does, a player committee. The team is going to vote, elect a committee of players leadership council, essentially. And then he's going to talk to them, and he wants their opinion. I don't know how much stock he's going to put into their opinion, but I mean, I think we could probably all agree that those players are going to say they want Josh Elander.
And that's why I say I don't think it's going to be productive. I agree with the concept. I think the players should be engaged in that process. I think it worked really well for football, but I think it's just a different scenario. Normally you would, again, I think he's screwing up with this. Normally you would have a player leadership committee to give feedback after a fire. Like you're like, there's problems. We need to correct the problems. You all were elected by your peers to be their spokesperson. Tell us what the problems are. That's not the situation here. There are no problems. It's brand new stadium being built, largest budget in America, 3 straight top recruiting classes. There are no problems. So now you're walking into a room where a bunch of 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds who have never spent one day in the real world and who have a personal attachment to Josh Elander, and they've been on Twitter and on Instagram and everywhere else with a bunch of other 18 to 25-year-olds who all love the guy, and they're all rallying together to say we should hire this person. And oh, by the way, even the 22, 23, 24, 25-year-olds, they haven't lived in the real world yet either. So they don't have the perspective of, I, as athletic director, have to make a hire here to manage the $100 million stadium renovation, the highest budget in college baseball, and they have to be good enough recruiters to go out and maintain all these recruiting classes. Or if somebody bolts, go quickly fill them with somebody who's a good alternative. Okay. No 18 to 25-year-old has any concept of what that looks like.
Sure.
And so, in my opinion, they don't get a say in this scenario because they're jaded and they have no concept what is required in order to be successful with this. They just see a guy down the hall that they all know and like, and they're like, well, it should be him. And then, now groupthink is happening and they're all rallying together and going, it's got to be him. So I don't know if I'm Danny White, I don't know, what do you walk in and ask those kids in that leadership council? So what all needs to be fixed? Nothing. So what do you think could be better? Nothing. Why are you here? Go hire our hitting coach. Like that's what's going to happen. And it's going to go really, really poorly.
I will say this, some folks in the comments are saying, if people transfer, they're going to have to sit out this year and wait till next year. Well, let me paint a scenario for you here. This is why I think and John kind of alluded to this too in the comments, but this is why I think the hire will happen in less than 2 weeks. There's a 30-day window. So we'll round it off and say 4 weeks. If no one has been hired in 2 weeks and you're one of the players on this baseball team and you know that Major League Baseball is a legitimate option for you down the road, you just got to make sure that you're developed enough to get there. After 2 weeks, all of a sudden you're like, okay, I only have 2 weeks left. I got to know who I'm playing for. So after, a lot of these guys, they might not entertain some of the calls and texts that they're getting right now from other programs because they're waiting to see who's hired here. But after 2 weeks goes by and you only have 2 weeks left, you have to start entertaining those if you don't know who's going to be your coach, because you got to make the best decision for yourself in that situation. And so whoever Tennessee hires, it really needs to be within the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, they're going to start running the risk that people will start leaving because they got to make a business decision at that point. Do I wait and hang on and miss my opportunity to transfer and end up playing for somebody that doesn't match my style of baseball? Like, maybe they're, like Ruston said, they're gorilla ball. And if they go get a small ball guy, which, I mean, let's face it, that's happened at Tennessee before. Coach Raleigh, I mean, we went from gorilla ball to small ball and it didn't work out. And so, the Long Beach State method didn't work here, or Cal State Fullerton method didn't work here. And so after 2 weeks, all of a sudden those texts and those calls that they've been ignoring, they can't ignore them anymore. They have to start taking them seriously because they have to make sure that they are in a spot for their best future. So whoever they hire, it has to be within the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, there's going to be people leaving. Like that's the bottom line. Let's see.
Tony asked, if not Cliff Godwin, who would my second pick be? That'd probably be Dan McDonnell at Louisville, for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's adaptable. He's a hitting guy. He has had teams at Louisville that played gorilla ball. He's had teams that played small ball. Some of that's because he doesn't have anywhere near the budget that he would have at Tennessee, and he just has to make do with whatever players he can get. But he's another one that would keep Frank. He would just say, "Hey, I'll handle the hitting. You go do pitching." So I think he'd be a really good fit. The other reason I think he'd be a good fit is he's fiery. He and Tony have the same personality. So I think he would fit in well. He could walk in and kind of be plug and play. And he's the second winningest active baseball coach in America. He's almost to 800 wins. He's been to the College World Series, I think, either 5 or 6 times, National Coach of the Year twice. And this would be a significant upgrade coming to Tennessee because Louisville just doesn't have the funding that Tennessee does. So if you can't get Cliff Godwin, I think you immediately go to Dan McDonnell.
And John and Tony are, in the comments saying signing day is 2 to 3 weeks away as well. So they have to move quickly. Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
And let me say this too. If Danny goes through all this and ends up,
not if they're winning, I'll put it that way. And well, Audrey's saying what Ruston was saying earlier, why those meetings aren't going to go well. The players, Audrey said, the players know who they want to play for, who they came to Tennessee to play for. And part of that is Josh Elander, but a lot of that was Tony Vitello, and he's gone now.
If I was athletic director, I would have a hard time giving Josh Elander the keys to this Maserati. This is not a program now where you give somebody their first shot. And I just don't see it. That all being said, if he caves to all this pressure and he gives it to Elander, I hope he carries on and does extremely well. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do as a head coach that you don't have to do as an assistant coach. And until you've done it live, it's just a different world. And I don't think you give all this to a first timer. And I don't think you hire Parker Search if you're planning on promoting from within. That would be an incredible waste of money.
I mean, to your point, you said, some people are just really great assistant coaches and they don't pan out as head coaches. Frank Anderson, like we have one on our staff right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Arguably the best pitching coach in the country. Did not have anywhere near as much success as a head coach as he's had as an assistant coach.
Yeah.
It's a different skill set, But Rhonda said this is basically what A&M did last year in order to keep their team together. That's fair. They did. Audrey said, but Frank doesn't want to be a head coach. Well, that's true. He's been down that road.
Yeah, never. He said he never wants to be a head coach ever again.
Stingray makes a great point. He said, at least it's going to happen soon and we can put it behind us. Yeah, for sure. It has to. They got to move fast. They got to move really fast. So,
and I would also say, Rhonda's saying this is what A&M did last year in order to keep their team together. There were problems. It didn't go well. By the end of the season, they kind of self-corrected and they played better in the second half of the year. But there was a time in the first half of the year when they were one of the worst teams in the conference. So, and a lot of it stemmed from a new head coach who didn't know how to be a head coach. And they had to kind of teach him how to manage the program. And, they kind of self-corrected mid-season. But I think there's still some skepticism at A&M about how that's going to go this year.
Yeah, they were the shock of the college baseball world last year because they were losing series at the beginning of the year that they should not be losing. So did it work out ultimately? Time will tell, but there were some growing pains, at least, you could say at the beginning of it.
Yep.
Vols Titans 8 said just now coming in, but it's got to be Elander. I'd recommend going back and maybe watching the last 30 minutes of the show whenever we're done. Audrey said, this feels like the Lane Kiffin dream job mess. Yeah, you're exactly right. 100%. Yep. Like Ruston said, this is now the highest funded baseball program in America. And let's be honest here. All we've talked about tonight was house settlement money and just, university funding money. We hadn't even talked about NIL stuff. That's a whole other ball game. And so the 14 million we've been talking about, that's not even including NIL funding.
I heard people,
there's no telling how much money is being pumped into this program.
I heard people making statements, and whether you agree with it or not, I heard people making statements that women's basketball should not have a higher budget than baseball. Well, first of all, let me remind you that women's basketball has won 8 national championships. So, we need to not let recency bias forget that. But when you include budget, revenue share, and NIL, baseball actually makes more than women's basketball does. And, so I saw that rumor floating around that Tony was supposedly mad because women's basketball was getting more money. That's just categorically false.
Well, and also it's that specific reference is about the house settlement that had a percentage basis breakdown of where the money has to go. And so it was 75%, 75% football, 10% men's basketball, 5% women's basketball, and 4% for all other sports.
Everybody else.
Or the remaining 5% for all other sports. 4 of the 5 remaining percent was going to baseball.
And I would add on, somebody made the comment, where'd they come up with these percentages? It's based on revenue. So, they're looking nationally at how does the revenue come in, And so, like, when I make the statement, baseball does not pay for itself, the revenue share literally proves that. Women's basketball gets 5%. Baseball is in a group with every other sport getting 4% combined. So, they're looking at overall revenue production and going, I mean, anybody with a math background or not, business background, can look at it and go, okay, so in college athletics, there's 3 moneymakers: football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and nothing else.
But the point there is that's not up to Danny White.
Right.
That's the United States government that said this much percentage has to go to these 3 programs.
Right.
And then, 5%, the remaining 5% gets divvied up among all the rest of the sports. And Tennessee was using 4 of the remaining 5% to go to baseball. So that means that all the other sports, men's and, women's soccer, track and field, swim and dive, tennis, all those things were getting a total combined 1%. So baseball was certainly being treated fairly, and we can't even use those percentage numbers as a negative toward the university, because that's not the university's decision. The United States government made that decision. So we have to do that. We're breaking the law. That's why Ruston was talking about earlier. There's literally no way that the University of Arkansas gave women's basketball's house settlement percentage to their baseball program. They literally cannot do that. That would be against the law. So that money is.
And if they did, this was a bad time to do it, because the FBI is all over sports right now. So
yeah, exactly.
This would not be the ideal time to do something illegal with government money.
Exactly. Tony said, "Gonna miss Tony V. He was a man of the people. He was one of us." Totally agree, man. Absolutely. I hate it. I hate that he's gone. Backflip Spaghetti, man. I hope your wife is okay, and your wife's mom is okay. Praying that they're all right.
Okay, Audrey has now made 2 comments about a boring coach. I don't. Who are we talking about? Because I recommended Cliff Godwin and Dan McDonnell. Both are fiery guys who are anything but boring, and both of them, especially Cliff Godwin, would walk in and continue everything as it's been for the last 5-6 years. If anything, Cliff Godwin might actually be more fiery than Tony. Cliff Godwin, I believe, led college baseball last year in ejections. So there's nothing boring about him.
John said he thinks women's basketball will get their 9th natty this year. Let me say this about. So Audrey made a good point here. You can't hire a boring coach with a big new stadium; it'll have empty seats. Here's what I would recommend. There are 2 baseball stadiums that in the country, other than Tennessee, that have really 3 that have the rowdiest atmospheres in the country. LSU is not on the list, surprisingly. The Vandy Whistler is not on the list. Mississippi State. I'm sorry, not Mississippi State. Ole Miss, because they do the whole water bottles in the outfield thing when somebody hits a home run. Ole Miss. Arkansas stadium, atmosphere it may be the best in the country. But either number 1 or number 2, second only to Arkansas, is East Carolina. It is a raucous, rowdy atmosphere at that stadium. Their fans go nuts, and their players love it. That is a energized, rowdy environment. You could probably pull up on YouTube after the show. You could probably pull up on YouTube just clips of East Carolina's baseball stadium. Their fans are incredible. If I had to rank them, I'd probably say, aside from Tennessee, I would probably say Arkansas has the best atmosphere in stadium during a game. East Carolina would be number 2 in the country, in my opinion. Their stadium atmosphere is bananas, and it is awesome. Let's see. Oh, man, I'm sorry, Backflip Spaghetti. I hate that for you, brother. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Audrey. She said, even if the boring coach wins, it's still boring watching beige paint dry. So I would say Louisville, that head coach, you might make a case that that guy could be boring. I don't think Godwin would be boring.
I just looked it up. Cliff Godwin got ejected 4 times last year.
Tony only got ejected once or twice.
Right. There is nothing boring about Cliff Godwin.
Let's see. Audrey agreed. She said Arkansas has a crazy atmosphere. Audrey said, all I'm saying is, you know how Vol fans are. Oh, yeah. Vol fans are going to potentially turn on everybody.
No, and that's why I think Godwin's the perfect fit. I think he would walk in, win the immediate press conference, and I think every Vol fan would walk out going, he's one of us. That dude's half crazy. We like him. He's a perfect fit.
Ramble G said, I think Tony V fits best as a Vol, but in major leagues, I think the Braves are a better fit, but that's probably because I like the Braves. Amen, brother. I totally understand. Stingray, glad you joined us, buddy. Thank you so much. Audrey said Tony was slacking and he only got ejected once or twice. Backflip Spaghetti said, but he was very close several times. But, you know, like he said, that sounds promising.
Yeah, again, every coach is very close to getting ejected. Like, to actually get ejected 4 times in one season, like, you got to be on somebody.
Tony said our stadium has not been the same since our students were put in the right field corner. I agree with that. I think you would find out other players from opposing teams also agree with that. Malls Titans 8 said I would listen to the players that saw what led this era to a championship level, same as Kirby under Saban. Potentially. But it is the number 1 spending program in the country. You have every right to have the best coach in the country if you want that coach.
It's just my opinion. I'm not letting 18 to 22-year-olds decide a multi-million-dollar hire. I'm just not doing it. Like that, to me, that sounds like career suicide.
Yeah. Nolan asked, how many years do you think Frank Anderson will continue to coach?
60. He's 66 right now, and he acts like he's 36. I could easily see him going another 4 or 5 years. He's similar to Rick Barnes. They're probably. I wouldn't be shocked at all if they both retire the same year, because they're both going to go hang out together afterwards. So, you know, I think it'll be. I think he'll be around for a while.
Let's see. Nolan said we probably lead the nation in assistant coaches getting ejected. Potentially. Let's see. Audrey said was changing the seats a Danny decision. Probably.
No
Backflip Spaghetti said, would Tony have stayed for more money? He would not have.
So that was something I was curious about and asked a lot of questions about. He was 75-25 pro Giants almost the entire time. The fact that it drug on as long as it did was him trying to decide. It was Tennessee pulling him back, honestly. It was Tennessee making him reconsider. But the idea of being historic, being the first ever, and for that organization was extremely attractive to him. And, you know, he's got a bunch of former players in that organization. So they were all pulling him that way too. You know, I was very surprised to hear that pretty much from start to finish, he was 75% Giants. So money was not a big part of the equation. Obviously, it always matters, but the Giants have plenty of money, and whatever he needed, he was going to get.
Nolan said, let me rephrase what I asked. How long do you think Frank will be the head coach for Tennessee? Less than 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, it's just for right now.
I like Sam's comment. He said, no true Tennessean cares about Major League Baseball.
I agree with that 100%.
So, I mean, here's the thing. It is difficult to say that more money could have kept Tony here because he was already being paid $3 million a year,
Yeah.
and he had the highest funded program in the country.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that it's difficult to say that more money would have kept him here.
I think it's better. I think it's better to look at it from the perspective of our former head coach just became a piece of history. He is literally the first college coach ever in the history of baseball to go straight from college baseball head coach to head manager at a major league organization. And for the rest of the country on the outside looking in, all they see, and I've talked to a few college coaches about this, and they're all saying the same thing. All they see is largest baseball budget in America, about to have one of the nicest stadiums in America, and 3 straight top 2 recruiting classes. So every coach in America, whether they're saying it out loud or not, they're all at home looking at their wife going, so how do you feel about Knoxville?
America's college sports city.
I guarantee you there are literally hundreds of coaches who are quietly sending their resumes through their agent to Parker Search.
100% yes. 100% yes.
Everybody wants this job.
Yes. Elijah asked a fantastic question. He said, what are the chances it doesn't work out for Tony in San Francisco, and whoever we choose to coach also doesn't work out, and Tony ends back at Tennessee? What are the chances of that?
Sure, maybe. Who knows? I think the organization is in such a phenomenal place. If they get the hire right, I think that person's going to walk in and just continue to compete for national championships every year.
I would say less than 5%. That would be my percent chance. Because even if that scenario happens and it doesn't work out for Tony and it doesn't work out for Tennessee, I think there's too much pride involved there for him to be like, okay, well, I'll go back to Tennessee. I don't think that would happen personally. Rhonda said she feels deceived by Tony. She said, I know it's Major League Baseball and I should be proud and happy for him, but I'm wearing my orange lenses. He had it all here. He did. Absolutely.
He did.
He literally
and honestly, I jokingly made that joke about coaches asking their wives, how do you feel about Knoxville? That actually probably hurt us. The fact that he was single probably hurt because he's not tied to anything. It would have been awesome if he had been married, had a kid or two. He probably would still be here if that had been the case. But he had an opportunity to take a lifetime opportunity, something that no one ever gets offered. And I think the fact that he is single, because again, we joked the other night about how much taxes will be taken out in San Francisco. He loses like half his paycheck. But when you're single, you don't care about that. Like
well, I mean, legitimately, he might end up potentially net making less than what he is currently making.
He almost certainly will. Like, I don't think it's a possibility. I don't see how. I saw his contract today. After taxes in California, I think he'll probably make less.
Audrey said, once again, our fans, no matter who it is other than Nylander, will not be received well, and put that mildly. So here's my thing. I don't think anybody, including Nylander, with our fans, there will be a portion of the fan base that is mad at any hire that's made, any hire. Some people that will be mad about Elander won't be mad about other coaches. Some people that'll be mad that it wasn't Elander, would be mad about it. It's like there's going to be half and half. That nobody has a chance of 100% approval for sure.
So if we're going to play the what if game, what if they hire Elander, he goes 35-30 and struggles in the SEC? How's everybody going to feel about it then?
Sure. Jonathan said if Tony comes back, it'll likely be 10 to 15 years down the road. And Audrey said, Tony will definitely make less in San Francisco. Yeah, I mean, the taxes, man. Taxes. To the 400 people watching across all three platforms, welcome. We're glad you're with us. Rebel Juice said, don't think it'll happen anytime soon, but if Heupel was offered a coaching job in the NFL, do you think he'd take it? Would he accept a job as offensive coordinator or nothing less than head coach? That is a little bit trickier, in my opinion, because the question then becomes, does Heupel's offense translate to the NFL? And here's the deal. If people say no, it doesn't, Heupel's a competitor. Would he be like, oh yeah, I'll prove it? and like this, I mean, I don't know. There might be even more incentive in that situation. Who knows? Audrey said 51% effective tax rate for Tony in San Francisco. Like he said, he would net 1.96 million, which is less than what he's making.
Which even in San Francisco, as a single man, you can survive.
Yeah. Rhonda said, if this goes well for Tony, other schools need to watch out. This could be the new norm. Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. Backville Spaghetti said, it's hard to see a scenario where a new coach comes in and we just keep the same success rate. That is a fantastic, point as well. Like there's always going to be some growing pains, right? He said, don't think we'll drop off the radar, but definitely enough to hurt. Nolan said, I'd definitely rather have a proven winner at head coach than a young up-and-comer. As a Vols fan, that rarely works out for us. Tony is the exception. That's also a fair point, too. There's nothing that goes hand in hand as well as a coaching search in Knoxville, Tennessee, is there? Everybody's, I'm sure, firing up the plane trackers right now as we speak. We'll see what ends up happening.
Somebody was texting me while you were talking about this same thing, but Backflip Spaghetti's comment about it's hard to see a scenario where a new coach comes in and we just keep the same success rate. I'm telling you, either of the two individuals I mentioned, Cliff Godwin or Dan McDonald. I mean, Dan McDonald's about to win his 800th game. You hire either of those guys and give them the resources and the players that are already in place in Knoxville, the winning will continue.
Audrey just made my favorite comment of the night. She said, we are all perfectly logical people. All of Vol Nation, perfectly logical people. Nolan said, Knoxville, Tennessee. We hire him and we'll probably fire him. Oh, that's great. Backville Spaghetti said, can we get a guy like Godwin or something like that, though? Yeah, with the money, yeah.
I'm telling you, there are hundreds of big-name coaches all over the country quietly sending their resume to Parker Search. This is Tennessee and LSU are the two jobs that everybody in America wants currently.
So, to compare Tony's salary and Godwin's salary, Godwin was making $600,000 a year. Tony was making $3 million a year.
And honestly, more importantly, because as a head coach, you understand this. Your salary is wonderful. It's great, but you also need really good money for your assistants and you need a big time budget. His budget at East Carolina is $3 million a year. Tennessee is $14 million a year. His budget is going to more than quadruple. And I'll remind everybody, he almost put us out of the NCAA tournament. Like, we were all a little concerned about having a super regional against East Carolina. So, this is an individual who is winning at a extremely high clip, and he can walk right in and do extremely well.
I think Jonathan just had the best comment of the night. He said, I'd say the up-and-comer hire of Kim Caldwell's working out so far. I know it's definitely different sports, but here's the main thing. I trust Danny White will make the right hire.
But there's one major difference there. Josh Elander has never, ever been a head coach.
Yeah.
Kim Caldwell was a national champion head coach at Glenville State. And then in 1 year as head coach at Marshall, took them from bottom of the conference to first place. Okay. That's in my opinion, that is a much bigger deal than I've been coaching third base for the last 5 years. It's not the same.
I think the last part of that comment, though, is the most important part. Over and over and over again, Danny White has proven that he can make the correct coaching hire. He's done it every time at Tennessee so far. He did it when he was at Buffalo. He's done it everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
So
let's not forget Nate Oates is at Alabama now because Danny White brought him to Buffalo.
Yep. Nolan asked, do you think there's any Power 4 coaches or even maybe SEC coaches who would want the Tennessee job?
Well, I would pay close attention to the fact that Link Jarrett at Florida State got an extension today. That was not coincidental. So, yes, there are lots of Power 4 coaches who want this job. And there will be other Power 4 coaches who will leverage this opening to get raises in their current situation.
Yeah, for sure. BG asked a good question. Other schools have failed to hire Godwin. Would he leave?
No one can offer what Tennessee can. Literally, I'm not exaggerating when I say right now the two best programs in America are Tennessee and LSU. There's nothing comparable. I mean, Arkansas is nice. Dave Van Horn's done a good job, but he fights for recruits every year. Tennessee and LSU just walk in and sign them. Like they don't fight. So it's just a different animal right now. There's those two programs and then everybody else. And if those two programs are open, everybody wants that job.
I can't speak for Coach Godwin. However, I can certainly say that if I were making $600,000 a year, which let's be honest, I'd be very happy if I were making $600,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone
to coach
came
baseball.
to me, yeah. And then someone came to me and said, pardon me, sir, would you like to make $2 million instead of $600,000?
Or heck, it's still a savings. We'll do 2.5.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you like to quadruple your salary, sir?
We'll take the other $500,000 that we would have given Tony and put it toward NIL.
Yeah. And then, you're currently able to spend $3 million on your baseball program. Would you like to spend $14 million on your baseball program?
And have a dorm with a hitting facility on the bottom level, right behind the right field or wherever fence, to where all your players can literally live at the field. Yeah, I'll take it.
It would be difficult not to at least listen to that. I think that's a fair assessment. Bobby said, I needed this show tonight. Ruston has me stoked. I like that. Nolan said, I said the other day on a post that Kim has the ability to possibly be our best head coach on campus, not named Tony Vitello.
Yep. Did you see her interview today? Her comment about the freshman? Okay, I have not gotten a report from practice yet, but they must be absolutely bawling because in the interview today, she said out loud, we are building the foundation of our future around these 5 freshmen.
Wow.
And then she followed it up with, all of our returning players are playing hard because they know any of these 5 can take their job.
Wow.
Okay. Those girls are balling. Like that.
Yeah.
The
That's
talent
great.
she has in those upper grades, if she's willing to stand in front of the media and say that the freshmen are taking their jobs, like that's absurd.
Still my favorite quote of the summer or the off season so far is what she said at SEC Media Days when she said, "We don't recruit backup freshmen." I was like, "Boo, yeah!" Talk about a recruiting pitch. I mean, she talk about walking into somebody's living room and saying, "Yeah, come play for me," when she straight up says, "We don't recruit backup freshmen." That
Yeah.
was the epic statement of the century right there. I loved it.
Yeah.
Nolan asked a good question. We'll end the show with this. He said, Kim Caldwell, Rick Barnes, Tony Vitello, Josh Heupel. How would y'all rank these 4 coaches?
I'll tell you in April.
That's fair. That's fair.
Or actually, you can take Tony off that list, and I'll tell you in December.
I mean, if I had to say right now, yeah, Audrey says she's definitely a boss. Yes, she is. That's what I was thinking. That was a boss lady statement right there. John
What I
said if
loved
Kim
about
keeps
it,
building like she
not-
is and stays long enough, she may end up with a statue beside Pat's.
What I loved about it was her tone when she said it. And the interview today, the comment I just said, the tone was exactly the same. It wasn't a hyperbolic, I want to pump up people kind of comment. It was just a very even, matter of fact, I don't recruit backup freshmen. You know, and today it was, we've got 5 freshmen that are going to build the foundation of our future. We're going to build it off of them. And the older girls know that they're fighting for everything they can get because these 5 are going to take their jobs. And it wasn't like she wasn't saying it. It wasn't a coach speak thing. She wasn't saying it to try to motivate somebody. It was just fact. Like she was just stating the obvious. And it strong.
Well, I'll say this. All makes a really good point. You know, on that list that Nolan presented, there's only one Hall of Fame coach on that list right now. Here's the deal. Audrey said she can't possibly love that more, what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to rank these right now, yes, there is one Hall of Famer on there, but if we just go by results in their specific sport, if we go by, if that's the rank criteria, you'd have to put Tony on top because he's only national champion in that list.
Sure.
Then I would probably put Rick Barnes for how many times he's been to Sweet 16s, Elite Eights, final and one Final Four. Then Heupel for college football playoff, and then Kim. Kim is a national champion coach, but it's Division II. As far as my favorites on that list, Rick Barnes would be number 1 because the man is just everything you want in a human being. And so he would be the top of that list for me. I don't know. After that, it's really tough. I mean, Kim Caldwell, I'll put it this way. Kim Caldwell makes women's basketball must-see TV. I'm not being rude. I'm just saying that says a lot. Because
and the first exhibition game is next Wednesday night, and poor Columbus State is going to get 200 hung on them.
Yep. I mean, it is such an entertaining brand of basketball that she plays. You can't look away because you might miss 2 possessions. Like, I mean, literally, it's going that fast. So it is so much fun to watch her team play. That's a major credit to her. Well, I think this is officially.
Did you see that the Tennessee Duke exhibition has now been picked up by ESPN2?
Wow.
ESPN2 is going to televise a scrimmage.
When you got it, you got it. To the 413 people watching across all 3 platforms, y'all are awesome. We appreciate you. I will give one little plug here. If you would like to watch, Nolan said Kim has bottled what Heupel did in 21-22 and perfected it. Yeah, that's exactly right. If you would like to watch the Kentucky-Tennessee football game with me and Ruston, then we invite you to become a Watch Party fan member before Saturday, because we will have a watch party on Saturday for that game. For all of our Watch Party fan members, during the game, we'll be giving away a hoodie from our website. I guess that people probably won't want the Tony Vitello hoodie anymore, but
I think that's the one we need to give away.
I was going to do the everything school one, but if somebody really wants the Tony Vitello goat hoodie, then you can have it still. We'll wait until Sunday to remove those from our website. Hey, side note, if you want a Tony Vitello thing, you probably ought to do it before Sunday. I'm just saying. Those are going to be coming off the site pretty soon. But we sure do appreciate all of you. If you'd love to join our channel as a member, we would love that too. To Backflip Spaghetti and Audrey, thank you all so much for the super chats and the channel gift membership tonight. That was awesome. Gary, there's a new name. Appreciate you joining us, buddy. How did Kentucky give Texas a close game? Their defense. That's how great question. Tony said Barnes and Kim Caldwell aren't coach speak. That's all Heupel does. That's accurate. Very true. Nolan said, great show, guys. Go Big Orange. Appreciate you, Nolan. Thank you so much, man. Rebel Jew said, go Vols, baby. He knows what's coming. That's right. So if you're not already a Watch Party fan member, that level of membership, we invite you to do that before Saturday. It also comes with a discount on our merch store year round at that level as well. So looking forward to seeing people on Saturday night during the game. Ruston and I will be live again for our regular Sunday night show on Sunday at 9 Eastern. And so we hope you join us then. This is now officially, I think, the longest show we've ever had. 2.5 hours.
Congratulations, Tony.
Yeah, exactly. Like he said, Zakai Ziegler's balling in Europe right now. That's what I'm talking about. We hope everybody has a great evening. Go Vols, baby. Like he said, I need that hoodie. Rhonda said, great therapy session, guys. May need another session. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a really, really important 2 weeks to see who they get to replace Tony. Good luck to whoever it is, because it's hard to replace the GOAT. So just ask Holly Warlick that. Just ask potentially Kalen DeBoer that. It is not easy to do. So we hope all of you have a great evening. Go Vols, baby. And we will see all of you maybe Saturday night if you're with us for that. Like he said, I need a new profile pic. She's got the Tony Goat as a profile pic. That's great. I love it. Well, thank you again, guys. And we hope to see you Sunday night for sure, right here, 9:00 Eastern. Go Vols, baby. We'll see you all soon.